Hello guys, so today I just want to talk to you a little bit about the perfect plate. It was actually something that popped up in one of the check-ins this week, and they just want a little bit of information around what food they should be eating, a little bit more guidance, and then also I thought we'd do a quick run through again of the how many calories you should be eating and your protein goals as well. So when it comes to your calories and protein, this should be updated every 3 kilos that you lose. Or I would also do it every, like, say, 3 to 4 weeks, just to review, make sure you're still on track with the right calories and guidelines. So this is for you essentially if you're struggling to know what to eat, if you're feeling a little bit frustrated about the calorie counting side of things, perhaps you're fed up of using MyFitnessPal and the thought of updating all your food on there is just a little bit too much at this stage. So, um, if you're in a calorie deficit, but you're feeling hungry and you want a little bit more advice on how best to fuel your body to make sure you're feeling fuller. Perhaps you're wanting to build more muscle and you want a little bit of guidance on how best to do that. Um, or perhaps you feel like you're plateaued and you are slowing down in progress, or you need a little bit more guidance, essentially. So, if you're wanting to lose fat, build muscle, plateaued, slowed down progress, need guidance, completely new to tracking calories, this is the place that you need to be. So let's run through. I'm going to really quickly whip through this bit because fuel is food. So the reason we need food is obviously because our body performs, recovers, and adapts based on what you eat. Food is essential for us to perform at the best level that we can and to get the best results that we can based on our situation. If you're eating in the right way for the fitness goal that you're looking to achieve, it's also going to help improve your energy levels. It's going to help improve your muscle growth. It's going to help improve your fat loss and your recovery time because ultimately recovery is just as important as doing the exercise itself. So the concept of the perfect plate. So the reason I've called it the perfect plate is because actually this is something that one of the ladies actually on the group named this because she asked for the perfect plate. So what I wanted to run through, and it is slightly different for everyone based on your goal and what you're looking to achieve, but every meal should include essentially some protein. I would always recommend having protein with your meals because, especially when you've got a fitness goal and you're doing a lot of exercise, the protein is there to repair your muscles and also it's going to help keep you fuller for longer too. Carbohydrates, that's a bit of a question mark about it. So typically, yes, carbohydrates are really good for energy, but I'll dive into a little bit deeper why you might not choose to eat carbohydrates. Healthy fats, now I can't recommend these enough. So everyone hears the word fat and they jump a mile. They're like, no, not me. I don't want to eat fats. If you're eating healthy fats, they're really good for your long-term energy, and that's going to keep you like give you energy for a longer period of time, as opposed to just like the initial bit of it after eating the meal. It's also going to help balance your hormones and your brain function too. So, and then you've got your fruit and your fiber. So you've got the reason we eat fiber is essentially to keep us fuller for longer as well. And it helps with the digestion side of things. And that is where we're going to get all the micronutrients, so like all the minerals and things that are really good for your body. So let's whip through a little bit about protein. So as soon as we start talking about exercise, the word protein crops up. And I always feel like protein has a bit of a bad rep when it comes to exercise because, especially women, we always associate eating a high protein diet with big bulky men that are working out at the gym, and it's just not the case. Yes, of course, they eat protein, they eat high amount of protein, but it's because it is so essential. If you're looking to achieve a fitness goal and you're looking to build muscle, you need the protein. So the protein is essentially what's going to build your muscles. You need to be eating a different amount based on what your goal is you're looking to achieve and how heavy you are, essentially. So the best sources of protein, it depends if you eat meat. So chicken, turkey, lean beef, because they're lean meats. Whereas you've also got your eggs, fish, and Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is an incredible source of protein, but what you need to make sure you're doing is eating Greek yogurt, not Greek style yogurt. Very different. Um, Also, if you're vegetarian, vegan, tofu, tempeh, protein powders, and also edamame too. So one thing I would say is when it comes to protein, as a guideline, I would always recommend eating, if you're new to eating protein within your diet, like increasing it quite a lot, then I would say looking at the end of the spectrum of like 1 to 2 grams to 1.2 to 1.4 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. That being said, that's more of like an entry level. If you can, you want to be looking about maybe the 1.8 kind of marker. But the reason I say the lower end is because it can be quite staggering for some people. If I go up to them and say, you need to start eating 90 grams of protein or 110, 120 grams of protein, that's quite a lot for somebody that isn't aware of how much protein they had been eating previously. Um, so what I would always say is don't look necessarily at your protein goal as a day. You need to be breaking it down into meals and into snacks as well, because this is the best way for us to make sure we are getting protein every stage of the day. And also, so you're not getting to the end of the day like, fuck, I've still got 80 grams of protein to eat, because that in itself is like too much, far too much. You couldn't put, well, it wouldn't be pleasant to eat that in one meal. So what I would say doing, spreading it through the day, and I put a bit of a guideline here of how you should break it down. So for breakfast, I'd recommend about 20 to 30 grams. For lunch, about 30 to 40 grams. Dinner again, probably about 30 to 40 grams. And then if you and snacks, anywhere between like 20, 30 grams or whatever you've got really left over in your goals. But like I say, it will be different amount of protein for everybody based on what you're looking to achieve and based on your current weight as well. So when to eat? This is a common question that I get asked quite a lot, and it's a bit of a tricky one because it all depends when you train in the day. There's not necessarily a one size fits all. And you'll notice this a lot, like as we talk about like what food you should eat, what calories you should eat, what protein you should be eating. It is quite different for everybody. Yes, there is guidance on what and when you should eat it, but it's all based around your day and your pattern and your weight and all different, lots of different contributing elements. But as a bit of a guide, so I would say when to eat, you want to be eating typically before you're training to maximize your results. But I would say eat between about 1 to 3 hours before, because if you eat immediately, it doesn't give your body enough time to process it and use that as the energy, as the fuel for your workout. So if you're eating about 1 to 3 hours before, that's a good amount of time for your body to digest it. And before training, I would say focus more on proteins and then easily digestible carbohydrates, so like bananas. Um, so a good meal perhaps before a protein, before working out, before training. If you're say working out in the morning at say 9 o'clock, if you get up, had some Greek yogurt, some nuts, some berries and things on there, that would be great. Bananas, porridge, that kind of thing is really good. But then if you're training at 6 o'clock in the morning, like I do, it's the last thing you really want to do is go and sit down, have a bowl of porridge 2 hours, an hour, 2 hours before. I don't want to wake up at 5 and eat a bowl of porridge. So in that case, like you can do it fasted. The difference is you're just not going to maximize those results. But it's only sometimes you've just got to accept that it's better to do the workout than to not necessarily maximize your results, if that makes sense. After training, you want to be eating ideally within about an hour. And you want to be focusing again on proteins and carbohydrates to replenish your glycogen and repair your muscles as well. Um, Good kind of meal for that would be something like chicken, sweet potato, veggies, protein shake. And again, if you don't want to eat immediately 1 hour after, looking at things like protein shakes is a really good way of getting food into your system and not too much like eating a heavy meal, because I know a lot of people also don't like to do that. So one thing I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today on is intermittent fasting and fat loss. So this is a topic that kind of crops up a lot, and it has varying reviews on how if it works. So intermittent fasting is essentially eating within a restricted window. Like the most popular ones tend to be like 12-12 or 16-8. So 12-12 is essentially eating, like eat for 12 hours or within a window of 12 hours, and then you fast for a window of 12 hours. And then 16-8 is you fast for, say, a period of 16 hours, and then you eat for 8. How it works. So the reason why fasting is good, intermittent fasting can be good, is because essentially it's going to lower your insulin levels. And your insulin is the gateway to your fat reserves. If your insulin is high, you can't lose fat. If your insulin is low, it opens a door to your fat reserves. So it essentially means if you're burning calories, your body can go take the fat. If your insulin is high and the gate is shut, it kind of can't get to the fat. So what it needs to do is then it goes and finds other sources to take from. So whether that be carbohydrates or your muscle mass, it'll take from that to use as energy because it can't reach the fat reserves. If you've got any questions on that after that, just drop me a message or let me know. It's also, so it's going to, having lower levels of insulin is also going to help encourage fat mobilization, and it's going to support your fat loss. So ultimately, if we can bring the insulin down, that's what we want when it comes to losing fat. So how do you do it? I did briefly just explain, but if you go 16 hours fasting and then 8-hour window of eating, so what you'd be looking at is essentially your first meal, your breakfast, aka your break fast, that's where it comes from, is 12 p.m. So breakfast doesn't mean it has to be eaten in the morning. It just means it's the time that you break your fast. So if you have your first meal at like midday and then your last meal at 8 o'clock, that gives you your 16-hour window where you're not eating. During that time, it's really important to keep hydrated. And you can also have like electrolytes as well, which are really good for hydration because you will find if you're fasting, your body will become more dehydrated quicker as well. And also during your eating windows, you'll need to get your protein and your calories in as well. And your protein is really important when it comes to this because that's also what's going to help keep you fuller as well. I wouldn't recommend fasting for everybody. If you are doing your workouts and you are getting your steps in and you're eating your calories, if you're eating your protein and you're seeing results, it's not something I would necessarily think you need to worry about because that does just add another layer of stress. But ultimately, if you're one of these people that wakes up and you don't particularly like eating breakfast, then it could actually be a really good way for you to go down the intermittent fasting route. So why do people eat carbs? So there's a lot of forward and backwards again with carbs. The fitness industry and nutrition industry has this wonderful way of confusing everything. There's so much hearsay about one thing, and then the next thing, before you know it, oh, you shouldn't eat carbs. Like there's a lot of different influences and opinions on it all. So when it comes to time and fat carbs, carbs are essentially there to help your performance and give you energy. So different types of carbs give you different types of energy. And carbs, people think of carbs as being like bread, pasta and stuff, but carbs are also sugar. So everything from like a teaspoon of sugar through to your fruit, through to some vegetables being higher in carbohydrates, you'll be surprised how much food has high levels of carbohydrate in that you wouldn't even necessarily associate with being a carb. So people eat carbs before before exercise, because they kind of give you a bit of a quick fix of energy and they give you that boost. They'll eat them after exercise to essentially replenish your glycogen stores. And if you're going to go down the carb route and eat carbs and things, then oats, rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes are really, really good sources for that. And I'd also opt for whole grain as well if you're going for pasta. Also, lentil pasta is really good too. If you're going to eat, like with carbs, pair it with protein. So you're getting the protein to repair your muscles and you're also getting the energy together. Fats, I briefly touched on these earlier as well. Like fats are so important in a diet, and I think they really get pushed to the side. And I love things like avocados. I love things like nuts. I love olive oil. I am a big fan of fatty fish like salmon. For me, healthy fats are a really massive part of my diet. I don't think I go a day without eating avocado and olive oil. Like, I love it. And it's just so good for hormone and brain support. And they're good for like your focus as well. They keep you fuller for longer, so they're going to keep you what gives you the longer term energy. And they're the kind of foods that are going to help you get from eating your breakfast, say 8 o'clock in the morning, through to getting to lunchtime. If you're eating healthy fats, it takes a longer time for them to digest, so they actually keep you fuller for a longer period of time. Um, your best sources are olive oils, nuts, seeds, avocados, fatty fishes like salmon. One thing I would do though is avoid eating this type of fat immediately pre-workout because it would make you feel a little bit and a little bit full, and it'll make it harder to work out because you'll just feel a little bit more uncomfortable. So water, I harp on about water all the time, and I think typically, unless we're being conscious about it, I would say like 80% of people just don't seem to drink enough water. That's not an actual statistic, that's just me based on how many women I speak to, and how much water they're drinking. Like there are a few people who drink enough water, but there's rarely, like they're few and far between. So water is actually really important for energy because it's what's going to hydrate your body and make it perform at a higher level. It's really good for muscle contraction and it's really good for your recovery as well. There's a ballpark. I try and get people to aim to drink about 2.5 liters of water per day, but anywhere between like 2 and 3 liters is a pretty good amount. Um, but if you are exercising and you are sweating heavily, then I would always recommend increasing that as well. You can normally tell with by the color of your wee, right, what if you're dehydrated or you need to drink more. Things like coffee, tea are also going to dehydrate you as well, and intermittent fasting. So I would be mindful of that and then increase your water accordingly, but go by the color of your wee, which is always pleasant. Um, so another thing when it comes to micronutrients, you want to be another thing I talk about quite a lot, and having a colorful plate. So if you look at a salad and it's got loads of different colorful vegetables in it, then that is really good because the different colors have a lot of different vitamins and minerals in them, which are really good to help your body function and just really healthy for you, really good for you. So essentially, when we put it all together, um, I want to give you a bit of an example of how your day might look. And again, like I said previously, it's different for everybody because everybody works out at a different time. So, based on a lot of the people, a lot of my clients, based on you guys working out first thing in the morning, I've done a bit of a food guideline for when you should be eating. So if you are intermittent, this is based on if you choose to be intermittent fasting, then what I would recommend doing, you're working out at 6 a.m. in the morning. If you're working out any earlier, any later, like that's fine too. But based on it being around 6 a.m., I would train fasted. I pretty much always do train fasted if I'm uh, waking up and working out. Train fasted, you can drink water. I'd probably say have a coffee beforehand as well and have some electrolytes so you're rehydrating your body. Then at 7 a.m., say you finished your workout, and this is where you can either choose to say break your fast or if you wanted to, or like have by having like a protein shake. And also you could have a protein-based meal after if you want to, if you're not fasting. But then when it comes to say 12 o'clock, if you're fasting, I'd say that could be your first meal if you're doing a 16/8 fast. And make sure that is a really suitable meal with lots of protein in it, high protein. So looking at having things like Greek yogurt, like porridge. You can even add protein powder into your porridge, eggs. Um, Having that kind of thing is a really good start with some nuts as well if you're having like Greek yogurt. And then at 3 p.m., you want to be looking again at having another small meal or a snack. You can focus that around having, say, some chicken or some prawns. Then you have your vegetables as well, potatoes or a salad. And then having your dinner at, say, 7 p.m. And again, having some form of protein with some form of carbohydrate, and then some form of salad and vegetables. So you've got those main three contenders on your plate there. What I would always say though is you need to be eating the right amount of calories in that short period window if you're fasted. If you're not choosing to fast, I would recommend you like doing your workout, having a good solid meal, maybe between like about 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8 after you've finished your workout, and making sure that's got like 20 grams of protein, 20 to 30 grams of protein in. And then for your lunchtime meal, again, going for about 30 to 40 grams of protein. Having for me personally, I always have a protein shake about 3 or 4 o'clock, or about 4 o'clock, because that's when I find that I don't know whether it's a matter of boredom, tiredness, or what, but I kind of start to crash a little bit then, and I feel really hungry. I think it's because in my mind I'm like, oh, the end of the day is coming, and then I get distracted, and then I choose that I might want to eat something. So I would say about 4 p.m. going to have a good protein shake then that will fill you up and keep you going again till dinner. So that'll be another like 20 odd grams of protein. And then when it comes to your dinner, making sure you're getting say 30 to 40 grams as well in there. And I think if you can focus on getting protein at every meal, it makes it much easier to reach your protein goal. So yeah, if you've got any questions on any of that, or if you would like to talk to me directly about how you are planning your day and if you need help with when you should be eating, what times, and how to break your protein goal down per hour, like I can totally do that. That's not a problem. Just drop me a message, and I can do that for you. So let's have a quick wrap up of how many calories you should be eating. So I know we do this quite frequently. So basically, we're going to run through your calories and work out how many calories you should be eating per day. And then from that, we'll then go on to work out your protein as well. So step one, this is like, got to put your thinking caps on now, get your calculator out. And your first step is going to be finding your BMR. So this might be, if this is too much for you at the moment, please drop me a message after this. I can send you this presentation out to the people on Instagram. This is something I do weekly for my online clients as part of the program. If you want more information on the presentation I'm doing now, or if you want all this information, let me know. I can pop it through to you. So step one is finding out your basal metabolic rate. So your BMR. Your BMR is essentially how many calories your body needs to consume to function at its base level. I don't mean moving around, anything like that. I mean breathing, getting the heart to pump the blood around the body, just general functions that don't require us moving, just to do their day-to-day running. So to find that out, you need to do 10 times your weight in kilograms. So say your weight is 60 kilos, you want to do 10 times 60. Find that out. Then you need to add 6.25 times your height in centimeters. So say let's say 168 centimeters. So you do 6.25 times 168 centimeters. You add those two together. You then minus 5 times your age. And then once you found that, you minus 161. So when everybody's done that, if any of you have done that, let me know, and we can go on to the next bit. So for me, if it was 10 times my weight, 65 kilos, plus 6.25 times 168, minus 5 times 33, minus 161, it'd be about 1,374. So as a guideline, my BMR is about 1,374, and that's how many calories I need for my body to function and do its day-to-day running without me moving around. Step two is to find your total daily energy expenditure. So that is also known as your TDEE. It's basically your maintenance calories for a more simple way. Your maintenance calories are based on your activity level. And so you have the option of sedentary, lightly active, moderately active, very active. So I would give a bit of guideline of your sedentary. It's like no exercise at all, like literally nothing. Might do a little bit of light walking, that's about it. Lightly active, I would say you're exercising about 1 to 3 days per week, light exercise. Moderately active, I would say about 3 to 5 days per week. Very active, doing like hard, intense exercise about 6 to 7 days per week. For me, I typically put myself in about the moderately active window, maybe on the edge of very active. So to create your calories, to do that, you basically need to times your BMR by your activity level. So let's say you're moderately active, you would times 1,374, which we worked out from step one, times 1.375. Step three. So that will give you your maintenance calories. So for me, my maintenance calories as a bit of guideline are about 2,129. And I'm so sorry if I'm completely blowing your mind on how to do this because I'm just chucking numbers at you. But it is on the spreadsheet here on the presentation. You can just pause this and following. When it comes down to the next step, so step three, for you to find your calorie deficit, all you need to do is take your maintenance calories and minus about 300 to 500 calories from that. And that will give you your sustainable calorie deficit. So by sustainable calorie deficit, I mean amount of calories that you can eat to lose weight, whilst also still feeling full and your body being energized for the day. Therefore, you'll be able to sustain it for a longer period of time. So for me, it's a bit of a snapshot. So for me, my calorie deficit, if I was minusing 300 calories, it would be about 1,830. How much protein is enough for you to eat? So for fat loss, as a bit of it's all different for everybody, but for fat loss, I would say a guideline of about 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight. To build muscle, you're probably looking at the higher end of about 2.2 and 1.6 to 2.2. And then if you want to recomposition your body, probably about 1.8 to 2.2 per kilo of body weight. If you are new to monitoring what you're eating when it comes to protein, I would always say take what you're eating now and then use your body weight, your body weight in kilos, and times it by about 1.2 to 1.4. You don't need to whack it up to say 1.8 because it's unrealistic. It's only going to make you feel shitty if you can't reach 150 grams of protein. Like that's a fucking lot of protein. So I would say take it step by step, eat a little amount first, or like eat the lower end of the spectrum first, and then gradually increase it over time. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to be eating your protein to reach your fitness goal. Like that is a key driver. If you can't do anything else, reach your protein goal. It's easier to calculate than your calories, and it's so important. And then when it comes down to your calories, we've had people on this program that have come to me eating like 1,000 calories a day, 1,100, drop in weight. And then as soon as they even, I know, look at a cinnamon bun, they're bloody starving and they've already put their 2 stone back on. It's not sustainable doing it that way. And also you're not going to necessarily, you will lose the weight, but it might be coming from your muscle mass as well. And that's what we want to try and avoid. So by keeping a high amount of protein, it's going to preserve your muscles. So that in a nutshell is me rambling on a little bit about what you should be eating, when you should be eating, and your calories. Um, if you've got any questions at all on any of that, drop me a message, and we can have a little chat and I can see how I can best help you. If you want a copy of this to be sent through to you, so you guys will get the link in the community chat anyhow. But if you've got any questions, then just don't hesitate to get in contact with me and I'm more than happy to help. So thank you guys so much for listening and I will speak with you all soon. Thank you.